What we're gonna do today is something that we haven't done in a while, but I want to dedicate a full stream to looking at a new archetype that is coming out in just 2 days from now on, that Valiant Smashers releases. And we're gonna take a deeper look today at an archetype in it, which is called Centurion, just in case you haven't heard of it yet, which is supposed to be, or everyone thinks, the most relevant archetype out of Valiant Smashers, right? And so before that stream, I looked at the cards, I looked at some basic combos just to like present them to you guys to explain what's going on. We're going to do that first, then we're going to build a first list for the deck, and then we're going to put it to the test against some people in Twitch chat right now and see how it's going to perform against different meta decks. And then we're going to try and reach a conclusion. Is Centurion worth picking up, or is it not going to be worth it? Because the deck is looking to be not quite Vanquish Soul level expensive, but it does have 5 ultra rares inside of Valiant Smashers, where a majority of them you need multiple copies, if not 3 copies of them. So it's looking to be a pricey deck, and the goal is to try and see if it's actually like meta relevant enough to be that expensive, pretty much, to be worth it, right? So Centurion is actually releasing with I want to say, relatively small amount of things to learn. It's not a super complicated deck with super convoluted combos or whatever. It's relatively simple. The deck's gimmick, for people that call Gen and Ken, you might call it a gimmick, I guess. The deck's gimmick is that they put monsters into the spell and trap zone and then summon them from there. We have Centurion Chudea. It has the effect where if it's in the spell and trap zone as a trap card, you can special summon it and increase its level by 4, and on the board you can put it back into the spell and trap zone together with another Centurion from your deck. This is basically an emergency teleport, right? Because whatever you place into the spell and trap zone from your deck, you can just summon out after. It's worth noting that because these are treated as trap cards, they can be activated on your opponent's turn. And then we have Primera, which is the tuner of the archetype, because it is a synchro based archetype. This restriction might seem odd, but it's because if you use their effects and then later on you put another one of them into the spell and trap zone, you can't summon it again, right? So that's kind of like the balancing around these. You got Centurion Emmet the 6th. This one is not played as a 3 of. The ratios that I put into the main deck here are the most common ratios found in the OCG, by the way. Emmet is just nice because you need more names to special summon, and the level is also very good. It's a level 8, which you need to get into your synchro monsters, because this deck focuses mostly on level 12 synchros. And then they have a batch of very nice spell card support, because this is it for the monsters. Like, this is not just the ones you play. Those are all the Centurion monsters we're getting so far. There's nothing else. So they definitely need some consistency in terms of the spell cards. Otherwise, you would not be seeing your Centurion engine often enough. But luckily, they do have that. They do have Emblema of Oath, which is not a Centurion card, but it is a Centurion support nonetheless. This one is a better comparison to Emergency Teleport, because whatever you place here can summon itself out. This lock matters surprisingly little, because this deck is known for summoning stuff like Calamity. Obviously, you're going to do that on your opponent's turn. I'm going to show you how you do that in a second. The cool thing about this card is that it doesn't only have the teleport effect, because if you already have your engine, basically what you can also do is you can use the second effect, which is just set a Centurion spell trap directly from your deck. Then we got Stand Up Centurion, which is its field spell, another starter card that is basically an emergency teleport. This time you have to discard a card from your hand though, so it's like investing 2 cards, but still very good for consistency. Now this is how you can synchro summon on your opponent's turn, because like I said earlier, these Centurions, because they are treated as continuous trap cards in your spell and trap zone, you can summon them out on your opponent's turn, which then triggers Stand Up Centurion to synchro summon with them, right? We have to look at the spell and traps that they mostly run 1 copy of only, if even. This card is just phenomenal follow-up, pretty much. Like, this card is not a great starter card, which is why you only play 1. It is searchable. You can even get it from Emblema of Oath. It gives you basically 2 waves of follow-up, because it immediately places Centurion from the graveyard in the spell and trap zone, and then later, if you summon a Centurion Synchro, you get to put another one. So it's a pretty good card, but you wouldn't play multiples because it doesn't get you started, I don't think. Then we have Centurion Phalanx. If you already have combo, you just set this off of Emblema of Oath if you have it, and then you get a free like disruption on the top, plus some follow-up because you can banish it from the graveyard. Chat is telling me that there is a counter trap as well, which is true. The only reason why I didn't include it was because most of the lists that I looked at didn't have it, but I guess we can look at it. You could definitely side deck it it for going first at the very minimum. But the thing is, like, you don't really want to send the things in your spell and trap zone to the graveyard, I guess. That's the one counterintuitive thing about this card. The only card we still have to look at is the Centurion Synchro monster, because that's about it already, which is Centurion Legatia, which is a level 12. It's generic. This is really good because it's a good effect when you go first. You do summon this card going first. It's a free draw, but if you go second, it gets a bonus effect. I think that's very good card design, you know, making a card usable going first, but making it even stronger going second. Also, this is on special summon, not just synchro summon. So by doing something like reviving it with the trap card, you can use its effect again. This effect is actually very relevant in all the one card combos I saw. It enables you to just have follow up on your opponent's turn. This is all the cards already. Nothing too complicated, honestly. What I saw for this deck is it's mostly focused around one card combos, or like the same combo most of the time. And it's always the same end board. It's just slightly different steps to get there. If you start with Primera, you're gonna normal summon it to add a Centurion card from your deck to your hand, at which point you add Stand Up Centurion and activate it. Then you have to discard a card from your hand to place the Trudea from your deck into the spell and trap zone. Then you activate the Trudea to summon itself. And then you activate the Trudea again to place itself into the spell and trap zone alongside a Emmet from your deck. And then you're gonna use the Emmet to summon itself as a level 8 monster, and then you're gonna synchro summon the Legatia to draw a card. So at this point, you will still have 4 cards left in hand because we invested the Primera and we discarded a card from this, so we were down to 3. This draws us back up to 4. This is the end board for this combo, which might not look like it's much, but what's gonna happen here is you're gonna go to the end phase. In the end phase, you're gonna go effective Legatia to put the Primera in your graveyard back into the spell and trap zone. And what's gonna happen next on your opponent's turn, which I believe this is in the main phase for them to summon them. What you're gonna do is you're gonna activate the effect of Trudea, which summons itself, which is now a level 8 monster because you can increase this level by 4. You're gonna use Primera to summon itself, which then also triggers to add a Centurion card to your hand for follow-up. And on the special summon of the Primera, you can trigger your field spell to Synchro Summon. You're going to trigger it to Synchro Summon a level 12 Synchro monster, which is the Crimson Dragon. And then you're going to go effect of Crimson Dragon, target Legatia, which is a level 12, and it goes back into the extra deck and summons out Calamity, right? You forgot Emmet. Emmet is... Oh, that's even better, right? Yeah, no, you're right. Before you synchro into the Crimson Dragon, you can use Emmet to just move this into the spell and trap zone so you have it for next turn. Instead of synchro summoning with the Trudea, you synchro summon here. You Calamity Lock the opponent off of one card. You have infinite follow-up. You have not played into Nibiru. It's... You know, let me quickly reset this to show you that it works with either starter. If you start with Trudea, you're simply going to normal summon Trudea, activate its effect, move it to the spell and trap zone alongside Primera, then use Primera's effect, go to the main monster zone, activate the effect to search Stand Up Centurion, activate Stand Up Centurion, discard a card, place Emmet to the spell and trap zone, summon Emmet, and the more you know, here we are, right? End phase, put back this, and we have the same end board if you start with the other monster. Now, if you start with the field spell, you would just put this into the spell and trap zone, summon it out, search Trudea. Yeah, it's the same thing. Normal summon, move this, special summon this, make the level 12 synchro, and you have the same end board, right? And so this is what Centurion is about. I don't think we have to really talk about fancy 2-card combos or 3-card combos because this is using all 3 Centurion monsters already. Like, we don't have more that we can do off of just the Centurions in this deck, right? This is what the Centurions do. This is it. And if you draw multiple copies of these cards, I believe what happens is maybe you get more resilient to certain types of hand traps, right? But this is really all that the Centurion deck does, right? Whether you can play it as like an engine in other decks is something I don't know for sure. In the OCG, what people would do is they would simply focus on this combo and fill it up with any sort of non-engine that you have. Because as you can see, the deck is relatively slim, right? You're only looking at 16 cards in your deck. That's like 24 slots that you can fill with however you prefer. in a nutshell, that really is all you need to know in the beginning about Centurion. The one card combo for this deck is pretty much always going to be that. In terms of what this deck is weak to, number one, not seeing one of your one card combos. The other thing is that one card combos are notoriously weak to hand traps. For example, if your only starter is Primera, if you get impermed on it, you're not going to play. Ash on Primera can stop you from playing. There's only a few cards that this deck is completely immune to, which is Nibiru. If you play the standard one card combos, all have 4 summons. If you don't open exactly terraforming, you also completely ignore Droll and Lockbird because you search exactly once in your combo. The only thing that Droll and Lockbird would do is it would cut you off of your Legacia draw. That is it. That is all it would do. You also cannot Ash those kind of effects. Placing the monsters from your deck in the spell and trap zone cannot be Ashed. The question is Centurion going to be popular enough to justify playing something like Ghost Ogre, which it's not played for a reason right now? I feel like you have to, out of respect of not getting FTK'd. I mean, of course, one card Calamity sounds incredibly broken, but I will say the one card Calamity loses to, like I said, every single one hand trap, and it also loses to not all, but most of the going second cards that people play. It even loses to something like Enemy Controller. This doesn't happen in the draw phase or the standby phase, right? You can only summon these out in the main phase. Your opponent gets to use their priority in the main phase to do something first. So they could summon a monster, and then when you attempt to synchro summon, they can take one of your monsters with Enemy Controller. Book of Moon stops it, Book of Eclipse stops it, Spellbound stops it, and you'll notice that the cards that I'm mentioning right now are very popular already. What I am honestly concerned with when I'm looking at Centurion, I think the deck is consistent. I think the one card combo is powerful, but it doesn't matter how many extenders you draw. If your opponent has one of those cards to invalidate your Calamity lock, it feels like you're not really doing that much. Chat, let's think about how we would build this for the TCG. The first thing I want to do is I don't want to start with some crazy mix of decks, like a Horus version or a Runic version or super heavy Samurai versions. I know that that's possible. I just want to look at the baseline Centurion deck first, because that is also how people are doing it in the OCG. Whenever I saw topping Centurion lists, it was usually those. The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to play Fenrir. The reason being is that if you play Fenrir, you randomly lose to Nibiru, right? Because we counted the summons, it was 4 in the standard combo. Opening Fenrir would just make you play into Nib every time. So I'm not sure if that's a smart main deck choice. One thing you could do is you could side deck Fenrir, because people are not going to side Nib in against you, and if they play it in the main deck, they're going to side it out. With this much non-engine, in the current format, at least a decent amount is going to go towards hand traps, right? Maybe a minimum of like 12, something like this. Cut Terra? I don't want to cut Terra. I think Terra is important. I'm taking the risk to run into Droll to have extra starters, right? Crossout goes super hard. You know, I don't hate the idea of playing Crossout. I don't love the card. I don't hate it here if we play most of the hand traps that are popular. If you don't draw with the Synchro, you won't get the pop. You can draw one card, then you can destroy one monster. Yeah, you can't pop with it. The thing that I like about Prosperity, hear me out. If we already have combo, right? We can use the Prosperity as our discard for stand-up Centurion, because every combo discards exactly one card. And if we don't have combo, I would rather go have Prosperity in my hand than not have it, right? I would rather take a worse combo than no combo. Hand traps are fairly popular right now. I'm not opposed to playing Talents. In this deck, you would mostly draw with Talents. That also conflicts with Prosperity, but I do kind of want to try Talents. The hand traps aren't great against Unchained. They're not awful, but I would like to have another card that's like decent into Unchained. We also don't have an out to Noir at all. We have to prevent it with hand traps, otherwise it's GG's. Prosp conflicts with the Synchro. It does, and I would be willing to take it out if I find the deck consistent enough without it. Just, I'm looking at it and I see 12 starters and 1 terraforming. I'm like, that's like the lower end of consistent, you know? Like, it's not terrible, but it's like, I wish I had a little bit more. So if there was a good alternative to Prosperity, I'd be down to use it. Desires seems good to me. Desires, I mean, surely that's fine, right? Losing the one trap or the one spell, I don't think it loses you the game, does it? We could just play Book of Moon. It can help against Pearly if they can't set up a 5 material Noir on the first turn. It can help against Unchained. We can book the Caesar. I see some people play the Magistus package. What's that about? Let me find out. So this is level 4 or lower spellcaster. You go for the Synchro 8. Zoroa the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity. Spellcaster tuner plus non-tuner. I mean, it's not useful, right? You can lock your opponent out of whatever. It's a relatively big package though. It's kind of broken against like Branded, for example, right? You summon this thing against Branded, equip a fusion? What do they do? I think you can just play it like this and it looks fine. I would rather play an Ultimate Slayer package. You could. The goal of this segment is not to produce the best list possible. The goal of this segment is to just produce a list that we can test with and see if it's got potential, right? The conclusion I want to reach today is not, this is the list everyone needs to play at YCS Bologna. I want to reach just an answer of, you know, is this deck playable or not? Do I need to worry about this deck? Do you guys need to prepare for this deck? Is it worth spending the money on the cards in Valiant Smashers? That's basically what I'm trying to figure out. So for that, the list doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work, you know? It just needs to be like a playable list. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but it looks like a solid start where we can get a feel for the deck. Let's put this list to the test. Let's play some matches against some of you guys. We're gonna go through some of the meta decks and see how it performs. First things first, I want to play against the deck that won the most recent YCS, Unchained. Isn't Caesar bad against this deck? That's the thing. Maybe Caesar... No, actually, Caesar stops your spell and traps to summon themselves. Caesar is a problem. The side deck that I built doesn't have crazy, like... I didn't count how much I side out and side in for each matchup, so it's not a perfect side deck. It only stops activations. Oh, does it? You will simply not have the red dog in your hand. Ha! Caesar does very little? Well, then we should have probably just taken out Book of Moon. What can they even Caesar then? Literally nothing. Okay. Nib. Noted. Emmet in the grave or hand. Yeah, true. But that is like way down the line, right? Okay, so important things we've already learned about this deck in just the first match. Apparently, Shodea stays level 8 if it gets impermed, which is important. You cannot Caesar any of the spell and traps. And Emmet is only the opponent's turn, which is also very important. To summon itself from the hand or grave. So it's actually quite useful. And the grind game of the deck is really good. The grind game of the deck is really good. The fact that the Synchro is both end phases is also something that's very easy to miss. When you learn the deck, you look at like the first turn combo and you're like, yeah, of course, end phase use the effect is part of the combo. I didn't realize it was both end phases. Why not testing Horus with it? I mean, I'm not saying you can't play Horus with it. I currently am not doing it. But you can try it. I just wanted to try with the pure deck first. Can you recycle the Synchros? Well, Crimson Dragon always bounces back into the extra deck unless it's like stopped somehow. The Legatia you play 2 copies of. And I don't think you need multiple Calamities or multiple Quasars. The trap card can summon the Centurion Synchro from the graveyard. I believe this is a Nibiru Angle if I've ever seen one. They haven't used the blue dog in the graveyard yet. The thing is, they only make Caesar, and I don't care about Caesar. The only thing that annoys me right now about my Nibiru is that I have Fenrir in my hand. It is kind of tragic. Do I have to Nib here, though? They get the trap card back. I don't want them to have the trap card back. No, I Nib you. Put the token in attack and crash. Well, the token is going to be 7k. 5k defense in attack, I guess. They can still play... It might still make Griffin. They can still go Blue Dog, Pop, Revive, make the Link 3, Link with my Nib, something. Oh, have they used this? I think they did. Yeah, that... I mean, Caesar does nothing. Don't you think Spellbound would have been better than Nib here? I mean, Nib is still pretty good here. Oh, they can still use Sarama. Maybe I used the... Wait, what? Okay. I think I used Nib too early. Ooh, Abominable. Okay. It would be no problem at all. My hand is 3 cards, but effectively it's 1 card, which is the bad thing here. Like, the Fenrir is dead, and the field spell I have 2 copies of. So from their perspective, it's scary, because they're like, damn, 3 cards in hand, huh? And I'm over here like, yeah, I have 1. 1 is all I have. The Book of the Moon. We don't care about the Caesar, so the book is actually not a great draw. I think we still are on 1 card. I believe we have to go attempt the battle phase to force the rage. So Caesar, chat, another important thing. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated that includes a special summon. What this means is if you have a Centurion in the spell and trap zone and activate the effect to summon it, your opponent cannot Caesar it because it's not the activation of a trap card, it's the activation of a trap effect. That's different. We go to the phase where the battling happens. All right, dog is in hand. Main phase 2. Stand up. Stand up effect. We can keep the second terraforming for follow-up. I don't really see how the Fenrir is great here. Here, I don't think it matters which one we do first, because we know they don't have any disruption, right? Wrong one. Oh, did I pick the wrong one because I already used the field spell? Oh, it does matter. You're right. It does matter. If I didn't have the field spell, if it was the quick play spell, then it was irrelevant. But because I already used Stand Up Centurion, it needs to be this. It needs to be this effect. It's the same thing. Here. So in this case, we need to go this way around. We need to go special and then normal effect move. And this puts the Emmet into the spell and trap zone. And then we move again. And then we synchro into this effect, draw, pop. Honestly, I could have let it there. I could have let it sit there. Well, they can pop it with their own dog anyways. Set. End phase. Quick. Without Primera, you have no tuner. Well, I can go Trudea summon itself. Oh no, that I keep forgetting it's not a quick effect. You're right. It needs. Yeah. I keep forgetting Trudea is not a quick effect to place. Okay, pass. So I know the card in hand is contract. Activation is fine. Toggle on. By the way. On res, effect Primera. Move, effect. Add faith. Why isn't true the quick effect to special? To special it is, but the on-field effect is not a quick effect. So you special summon Trudea here, and then you trigger stand-up Centurion, right? You trigger it right here, and then you chain Emmet, target Trudea. I'm just trying to think if there was any way they could chain block me in a way, because they have quick effect Rakea to pop Sharvara, but... Synchro into Crimson Dragon, and then just effect. Target. Cringe? It is cringe. It is cringe. No! Access code! Okay, this is a proxy for Little Knight, right? Yeah, it's a proxy for Little Knight. Okay, end phase, boom. Give me Emmet. Because I only played one. Proxy on DB? Yeah, they forgot to put it in, that's all. 4,035. I can just play. I have Imperm. Eep. Your follow-up is immaculate with this deck, by the way. Your follow-up is something else. I mean, bro, I have an Omni-Negate. These cards were not meant to be in one deck together, but here we are. The Cosmic Blazar and the Hot Red Dragon. It's actually an anime fan's wet dream. This is why I thought they were gonna ban Crimson Dragon eventually, but it just came out, so, you know. Okay, I need a Rescue Ace Enjoyer right now. I want to play against Rescue Ace. That's an Ash, right? If they start with this, I feel like it's an Ash. Is it? It's probably summoning Hydrant. I'll Ash it simply because I'm not aware of how often you would start. Okay. Okay. Since we already have a combo, I'm going to start with Trudea before Desires. They imperm the Trudea. We go Emblem. Impulse and imperm. Okay. That's kind of fucked up. So because Trudea was normal summoned, this time it is level 4. So that's kind of fucked. This situation is not great for us. I would like to draw the field spell and not banish my last Emmet. I have banished my last Emmet. That is unfortunate. Do not Ash me right now. Oh my. Well, but we still win, no? I mean, we have crazy follow-up. We cannot make Baguska, chat. Emblema of Oath. And if you do, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except Centurion monsters while you control a face-up card with the name. I cannot make Baguska. It's so sad. It's so sad. Oh my. Oh god. Preventer effect. Summons out fire engine. Flavor effect. Move this down here. Special summon this here. They can attack my Trudea. It's fine. Highest attack pops this. Trapping Grave is nice, but Calamity Lock is also quite nice. Any tournament gamers in chat? How does the deck feel so far? It does feel solid. Not like insane, but just solid. Like this hand. This hand is very solid. If you have both Primera and Trudea, which one would you rather start with? What's the difference? I mean, they technically do the same thing. They both can get Veilered or Impermed. The Trudea cannot be Ashed. Let's do that. Okay, there was no draw, so I think we can just do this. And discard this for the thing. Emmet goes here. Kekbek. Now that's kind of fucked up, actually. That does stop everything. The one of Kelbeck is, that's fucked up. That is fucked up. I can't even synchro on the opponent's turn now, right? I guess Fenrir, Ash, Crow have to carry. Kelbeck actually destroyed me. But this is where the non-engine just has to come in clutch, right? When your one-card combo gets stopped by a specific hand trap, you just have to hope your non-engine carries. They have it all the time. The Shireen, man. I hate the Shireen. Oh, come on, man. Okay, Meta Noise has no target. Scream searches and it's not that bad. Scream effect. Do I Fenrir? I don't need to yet. I can Fenrir later. Trivi Karma adds Scream. Yeah. Okay, milled nothing. Rhino Horde. I'm going to Crow the Rhino Horde, but I'm also going to trigger Fenrir. The question is, do I banish the Sharon or do I banish the Scream? The Scream kind of fucks me up. The Sharon makes Baron. I think it's target Sharon. Droplet. That's fucked up. Chain Crow. So the last card in hand is Salik, right? We know that. So it's all about this mill 3. Okay. 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 There's a chance. Think on res. Hand is Salik. They make Baron next. So we go effect Trudea. Then we go Emmet. Target. Just before they get Baron, I don't want them to negate any of this. They have a line here where they can still do something. Like they can go Baron, pop their own Salik. Oh no, they already used Salik actually. They don't have that line. No, I think we win. This only goes minus attack, so they can't even kill any of the Emmets. I think we're fine. Yeah, it's just Baron. Baron, pop, and hope it's enough. But it's not going to be enough. Pop the Trudea. Yes. Can only attack the Fenrir. And we did this should be enough. The Cosmic is irrelevant. Because then you just make this without effect. Unless it's mandatory? Yeah, no effect. The scary thing is that it's already good pure. I want to say one thing. I think the reason why this deck has been working is because it was the pure version. It's one of those instances where I'm still open to try some stuff, but I think the appealing part about Centurion is that it has so much room for nonage. The combos that this deck does are strong enough. All I need is this level 12 on the board and set up to go Calamity next turn. And I don't care about anything else. Like, I don't need to put up infinite more stuff onto the board. I don't care. Because what you're saying right now, Horus makes this combo infinitely better. I don't care. The combo doesn't need to be better. We haven't lost a single game where we've pulled off the combo, right? I just feel like it loses to hand traps so hard. Well, you can get stopped by hand traps for sure, but that's true for every deck, right? The good thing is when you're being stopped by hand traps, it's really good to play a deck like this one that plays like a whole lot of non-engine yourself, right? If I have a 1-card combo and I'm being stopped by 1 hand trap, the 4 other cards in my hand being hand traps themselves might make my opponent pass the turn back. And this deck has crazy follow-up even if you get stopped. What about consistency? Consistency seemed fine. Maybe we were just lucky, but I mean, what are the odds? Hold up. 40 cards, starter cards. We have 13. We have an 87% chance to open a starter in 5 cards. Plus desires, technically. That's a pretty high percentage. Pearly? Any pearlies? We have so many hand traps that we just try to prevent the noir instead of trying to out the trap card. We still have 4 outs to yeep right now, but I think the cross out plus yeep technology is a little bit too much right now in this version of the deck. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If they make a noir, I'll be very impressed. You're not making a noir. Not at all. I'm tempted to just imperm this because it doesn't play into talents. On the other hand, I could just lockbird them right here, right now. See what they do for the rest of the turn. Cutting them off of my friend for future turns is nice though. Sometimes it's not great to draw Droll when you have so many other hand traps in your deck. I'm stopping them from activating my Droll and lockbird right now, which is like, eh. Happy Memories, fine. Discard Pearly, yeah. I might Veiler this. No. I'll just Droll them if they hit. This is where the Droll doesn't even feel that good. Because if they have Talents, this is actually so awful. Because they just take my starter and I need to top deck. So they have a Happy Memory and 2 other cards. Okay. They discard an Imperm. Another Lily because they want to rank up. Into a happiness though? What is the last card in hand if they want to have a happy here? I mean, I'll Veiler it. It's probably Yeep, right? Is what I'm thinking. Why couldn't this shit be 1601 attack? Literally 1601 attack is what I needed this shit to be. I think it's probably best to get rid of this SP. The play was normal, no effect. Oh, that's smart. I could have done that. Yeah, that was the play. I probably just go stand up Centurion. I have to discard my Ash now because I didn't make that play that you said. Do I want Emmet? I don't need Emmet though. Probably this. Actually, I could have dumped Faith and kept Ash. Yep, my bad. I am also new to this deck, but it's fine. I mean, it's not a bad spot still. Like, it's actually a fine situation depending on what they draw, but the way I played that was not ideal for sure. Faith has the Grave effect too. Yeah, it was going to be a good discard. You're right. Normal summon Veiler. I can go Emmet. No, I just grab follow-up, I think. Well, Emmet technically is follow-up. Yeah, Emmet is technically follow-up. And then the Claire effect through there. Giga Chat effect Veiler, by the way. It was the trap. I knew it. I knew it was the trap. Centurion is straightforwardish, but has enough nuance for skill expression. That's the thing, right? You could use this stream as like a sort of encouragement as well, because you clearly see how I make mistakes all the time when I play a deck for the first time. Like, that is a very, very normal thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of how many different restrictions and different type of effects Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards have. It's very, very normal to be hella freaking confused when you play a deck for the first time. And if that type of stuff discourages you, just know that it's the same for literally everyone. everyone. Even the what you would call pro players or whatever have the same kind of things going on the first day that they play a certain deck, right? You have to go through this process to eventually not make these mistakes anymore, right? And to know a certain deck or whatever. That's why I'm even happy to showcase when I make plays that are not ideal. I think that's one of the more helpful ways of playing a deck, because if I just played this deck perfectly, you wouldn't really notice these things, right? You wouldn't pay that much attention to the nuances, right? Let's do one more match without changing the list. Labyrinth, maybe? Quantal Think. Okay, let's go. Let's get like a closing statement on Centurion, because we've played against most of the meta decks at least once now. The version that you're looking at right now is by no means perfect. That was not the goal of the stream. It's just an example list that honestly performed quite well. We defeated Unchained, we defeated Pearly, we defeated Rescue Ace, we defeated Tearlament. The deck's playing better than I thought. You know, I kind of thought like, oh, maybe you would brick a decent amount of games, but we really didn't brick pretty much at all. When I saw the end board for the first time, I was like, you know, maybe it's not strong enough, but honestly, whenever we've made our end board, we have won the game. The grind game of the deck is probably what I was most impressed by. I was very impressed by how this deck can recycle resources, put the monsters back into the spell and trap zone, and keep doing it over and over and over again, and really achieve a lot with very, very low resources. It's not tier 0 or anything. It's not going to be the best deck in the format by far or anything like that. It's a good deck though. Like, it's in a similar realm of those other decks. I think it gets to play with the big boys, at least in the current format. If you're not willing to spend the money on it, or you don't want to play it, I don't think you have to. It's not like a pay to win situation where if you pay for those cards, you're gonna have the best deck. That's not the case, but it is good. At least know what it does, at least test against it, at least know your interactions. I mean, we've seen a ton of interactions today on stream that when you see them for the first time, you know, it's important to learn about them, so on and so forth. I hope it was helpful to everyone watching. If you enjoyed this kind of stream, we might do it more often in the future whenever new decks come out, new archetypes get released. For me personally, it was a very helpful stream. So yeah, keep an eye out for this deck for YCS Bologna. I think it is something to be expected. I had fun today. I was the one summoning the Calamity. Maybe that's why I had fun. Probably. I'll say it. I'll admit it. Summoning Calamity is fun. Getting Calamity summoned against you is not very fun. All right, if you watched this on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Leave a comment down below on what you think of this type of video, and I might try to make more of this in the future. And thank you for watching.